is the place where real dialogue matters.
Make some noise for that sound, man.
It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
This is Audio Airstrike. I'm Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 128, and we want to thank you for joining us. Those who are hearing this on iTunes and SoundCloud, we appreciate you listening. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you watching, and make sure you press that subscribe button to get more content from Audio Airstrike. Now, I have a very, very special guest. He is a podcaster. He is a fact enforcer. He is a professional crap talker. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't get paid for it. I ain't professional.
Oh, man. Jeff Henson, longtime friend of the show, is with us. What's up, man? How you doing, man?
Trying to get through this fucking COVID shit like everybody else.
Hey, I definitely hear that, man. We maintain it, and we still gonna crank out these episodes regardless to kind of take everybody's mind off of the continual pandemic that's going on around here. One of the biggest things that took place over this past week is the NFL draft, and we're going to get into that right now. As no surprise, Joe Burrow was selected number 1 overall. Let's be honest, it's probably going to be the next 2-3 years or so, probably going to be the last you hear of Andy Dalton. And Joe Burrow is probably going to end up being the big name down in Cincinnati, possibly, depending on how he plays.
I think Andy Dalton's going to land somewhere because Andy Dalton's not, how can I put it? He's not C- quarterback status. He's got some success. He's got good numbers. He's a solid quarterback. He just needs a system. He needs a team that can get behind him. He's not necessarily going to be the driving force of the team. If that makes any sense. So I think he'll land somewhere else. I don't think Andy Dalton's done with the NFL. Done with Cincinnati for sure.
Yeah, that's
definitely done with Cincinnati.
That's commonplace. Where do you think with Joe Burrow being with the Cincinnati Bengals, where do you think Andy Dalton's going to go?
I mean, there's rumors out there, places he might end up. New England being one of them. If you're asking me where I think he's going to end up, I honestly can't tell you. I don't know. If I'm sitting here trying to think of a place that would be a good fit for him, it would have been Tampa. But, obviously that's not going to happen. So, I can't really sit here and think. Maybe Washington. We don't know how good they're going to do with that quarterback, and I think if anybody could maybe turn their career around, it might be him in Washington.
Might be a good fit for him. It might be a good fit for him, considering what pieces they got down there and whatnot. When it comes to Joe Burrow, speaking of the Bengals, speaking of Andy Dalton, when it comes to Joe Burrow, what are you expecting from her? Are you expecting a good rookie year, a decent rookie year? Are you expecting him to play lights out, or is it one of them things he's got to get accustomed to? Because college and the NFL are two different systems.
So here's the thing. Whenever you come in as the number 1 pick overall, you're coming into a bullshit-ass team. Let's be honest, Cincinnati has been declining over the past 4 years. Because they were once a team that was up there with us in Pittsburgh. They were always making the playoffs. They were always one and done. But then they got rid of their whole structure, Marvin Lewis. Once they got rid of their whole structure, their whole team collapsed. So you're coming into a team who is now being restructured, and it hasn't been looking good from this whole restructuring process. So what I'm expecting from him are severe growing pains. Just like Cleveland's quarterback, what's his name?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. He came in, guess what? Now he's carrying the whole terrible fucking dynasty on his back. When they brought in, what's the other one, man? Johnny Manziel. When they brought Johnny Manziel in, guess what the fuck he was doing? Carrying a whole terrible dynasty on his back. Same thing. Now, guess what? Now you got Joe Burrow, number 1 pick overall, and arguably he wasn't even the best quarterback coming out of the draft. He was just the best choice because he was healthy. So there's a lot of arguabilities there that he's not going to be the guy. Kyler Murray, in my opinion, when he went to Arizona, was a great talent. And look what he did in Arizona. He elevated him, but he didn't elevate him to the point to where, okay, this team is now in the playoffs and they could possibly have a Super Bowl run in the next 5 years. We don't know that for sure. They just got DeAndre Hopkins, so maybe. We don't know. But that's a great example of a restructuring team. That's a team that's being restructured. So, yes, they're getting the key elements, like a good quarterback that can grow. So you're growing him to your mold of your restructure. So we'll just have to wait and see, to be honest. Do I hope the kid has success? Of course. Just not against us.
No. Oh, well, selfishly, absolutely. We don't want him to have a breakout game against the Ravens. And with the defense I think we have now, I don't think that's going to happen. Especially with the addition of.
Oh, you keep talking. I'm just taking these fucking shoes off.
Oh, okay. Especially with the addition of Patrick Queen, especially with the addition of 2 wide receivers. Good grief, a stellar running back.
We got a pretty good running back out the draft, which means we pretty much have a four-headed monster if you think about it.
Yeah, because all these running backs can do different things at different times that make them special. So if you put them on the field, and also you got to think about this too. Now they're not going to get as tired. There's not going to be as much wear and tear on these running backs. Like, we don't have to worry about Ingram getting hurt last year. You know how he was hurt last year towards the end of the season. And stuff of that nature. Like, he performed well, but there was still, you know how it is when you're going through game after game after game. There's wear, there's tear, there's stuff like that. Stuff happens.
Especially for the running back position.
Right.
Because they're constantly being, ran into a tackle.
Right.
That's their position. That's why a lot of running backs don't make it past 28. 28 is normally the cutoff mark.
Right.
But once you start that's why, if you notice about the running back contracts, a lot of them don't get paid. Because by the time they show their worth, they're already to that point to where, okay, statistically, you're too old. You know what I'm saying? There's very few that keep going and make that money. And Ezekiel Elliott, he got paid. I wouldn't have paid him. That's just me. But I do think that, in all honesty, just real quick about running backs, I think that somebody's agent or somebody needs to get involved to where these running backs, we're not getting a lot of great quality running backs anymore because they realize there's no money in that shit. Because they know that running backs normally don't last past 4 to 5 years. So I think in all reality, what they need to do is somebody needs to set a new mold. They should not be able to treat running backs the way they treat them. And this is why we're becoming more of a passing league now. It's because these running backs, look what New Orleans did to Mark Ingram. They shipped him out of there as soon as they got a young hot guy, so they wouldn't have to pay Mark Ingram. That's the way these things work. There's very few guys that get paid. And then if you actually look at it, like look at what's his name? The Rams running back. I can't think of his name right this second.
Todd Gurley
got his money. Has he played a down since he got paid? Has he had an elite year since he's gotten paid?
Yeah, his production has
went down because for one, he got hurt. For two, he's already passed his elite prime because that position is a hard position to work. So, that's all I'm saying is we got to find a way to protect the running back more. Not just financially, but maybe more in the game. These quarterbacks, they get to have these long careers, because they got all these rules against them. But what about for the running backs?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm gonna leave that there, man. That's just something I wanted to add.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think we really need to look into the contract structure of the running backs because, to be honest with you, if you are going to have these guys carry the ball over 25, 50 times a game in certain schemes, like if you're going to have that happen, then you have to pay them accordingly. It has to be a lot of money up front, especially. I'm not saying you got to gouge the whole team, gouge the whole cap space, but what I am saying is you need to pay them what they're worth. If they're giving you high production, like if you look at Mark Ingram, when you look at Todd Gurley before the injury, when you look at Ezekiel Elliott before that payment. Now, I know Ezekiel Elliott's a different case, but the Cowboys did give him the money. I know that's a totally separate case, but that's not the fair shake with every running back in the league. Are they gonna? Is Cleveland gonna pay Joe Mixon? Is what I want to know.
What happened when Ezekiel Elliott got his money?
Progression is his stats went down.
I'm sure it did. So this is what I think. I think that running backs should be able to renegotiate their contract every year, just because they have a shorter career span. You know, those guys who can only play 4 to 5 years, they should get paid as soon as they can, because those guys are a lot of the driving force of a successful team. You know, you give these guys a couple million, you know, their second year, let them restructure their contract after their rookie year, instead of making them be on a rookie contract. And, you know, if you're not going to pay him, this is what I'm getting at as far as the rookie contract. If you're not going to pay him, let someone else pay him. You know what I mean? If you don't value that player for what he is, let somebody else pay him and value that player for what he is. You know, you would get a lot more quality running backs if you did some things like that.
So let me ask you this, and this is because you brought it up in your statement. You said that some of these running backs, when they get paid, their performance digresses, and the expectation goes down. And sometimes we don't know what is the cause of that. Did they just get the money and chillax? Is it injury based? Like, it's either one of those reasons or something totally different. Who knows? But do you think because of that, is that why these organizations are afraid to pay certain players, especially running backs?
You know, when it comes to the business part of football, I'm not the one to ask about that kind of shit. Honestly, I can't tell you. It could be the fact that by the time they get paid and they get these big paydays, you know, it's not just the fact that they're getting them 5 years too late, or 4 years too late. Now their progression is going to start dropping because they got nagging injuries and they're at that age. Statistically, a lot of them start declining at the age of 28. And unless you get them in there at a very, very young age, like 20, 21, it's going to be hard for any of them to really grow into who they are as a player if they're being held to a standard. I mean, think about Seattle. When you think about Seattle, all the key components you think of are the Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson, and Beast Mode, right? Beast Mode ain't been.
You did, yeah.
Beast Mode ain't Beast Mode anymore, and he ain't old. You know what I'm saying? There's not many running backs that keep doing it at a high level. Like Adrian Peterson, he's one of them. He's doing it. He's still doing it at a decent level for his age. But a lot of them get to that age, and that's it. It's cut off. You know, they don't produce like they used to, and it could be a multiple things. They realize they're old. They're older now. They got to protect themselves more, so they're not running as hard. They're not trying to get his extra yards, so they're not fighting for that dollar no more. Once they got paid, that's it. They know next 2 years I'm probably not going to be in the league anymore, or I'm going to be a backup somewhere getting paid a nice little hefty $1 million just to be a backup. So they know from there, they know where their points are. You know what I'm saying? They know what the top of their mountain is. So once they get there, the only place there is down. It's the only way I can really explain it. But I'm not really a businessman, so I don't really know how all this stuff is negotiated. So for me, if you're asking me, if I'm a running back coming into this league, I'm trying to show what I can do in my first 2 years. That way I can get paid by year 3. That means I can get paid and keep paying and keep getting my bonuses up, keep building building myself to the best running back in the league, the best I can for as long as I can. That way, by the time my career's over, I'm not known as that guy that fell off after I got paid. You know what I mean?
That's smart. That is smart. Do me a favor, Jeff. Slide over to the middle a little bit more when you're talking.
Gotcha.
All right, right there. Yep, that's good. So I want to touch on some of the key people that we saw in the draft, some noticeable things. Kenneth Murray was signed to the Chargers, but he didn't seem like he was too excited about going to the Chargers. It seemed like he wanted to go to the Ravens or somewhere where defense is on a pedestal. Now, I noticed this, and if I found out that I got picked by the Chargers and I'm, a pretty top good linebacker, I would be a little bit taken aback too.
Here's the thing. He's not exactly going to a wish-wash defense. They're not terrible personnel-wise. They're terrible scheme-wise. So, and I get what you're thinking. Oh, well, if you're terrible scheme-wise, then I'm going to be a part of a terrible scheme. We don't know how that is going to look completely until they actually put all the pieces together. So San Diego or LA or wherever the fuck they are now, they're putting together a team to build pieces. So Kenneth Murray can look upset all he wants, but at the end of the day, be happy. You made it to the NFL. Not only are you on the NFL, but there's a lot of guys that would have loved to be in his position. Let's be honest. Your first round draft, buddy. Like, there was other linebackers, there was other ones, and they're pretty fucking good. We got one of them. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Whether he was upset or maybe he just has one of those faces, I can't tell you. But it's not like he's going to a team that ain't got skill and ain't got talent. It's a talented team.
Right.
They just need somebody behind them. And he might be that piece. So I'd rather go. So here's my thing. If I was a player and I was getting drafted, I would love to be drafted to a team knowing that I can make a difference. I don't want to go to a New England Patriots where I'm going to be compared to all the other great defensive players. I already know they got a great defense. But how am I going to stand out in that? I'm not going to take them from number 3 to number 1 just because I was drafted.
You're just a
But
guy
there's a
on the
chance
Patriots.
I'm going to take number 20 and get them in the top 10 just because of my presence. Now, those things add to not only your legacy, but they add to your payday. So those are things that you can, maybe he's just an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's just a fucking idiot. Let me be upset because I was drafted by a team high, like I was expecting to be. You know what I mean? I don't fucking know. I can't speak on that shit much more. I don't know. Maybe he did want to go where we were, but it didn't last.
But one person that did become a Raven was Patrick Queen.
Very good.
Talented linebacker. You said earlier he reminded you of young Ray Lewis.
Now let me specify on that because I know a lot of people are going to try to chew me up on it. He don't remind me of a Ray Lewis because of his skill set. Ray Lewis came in. Ray Lewis had that slim, trim, solid build. Then he gained about 40 pounds, so he can keep up with the big tight ends and he can absorb some of those tackles that he was giving out. You know what I mean? So he was able to maintain his speed and athleticism and durability throughout his career, which gave Ray Lewis an illustrious career. We're pretty biased, but if you ask anybody, I think they'll put Ray Lewis up there as their top 10 linebacker. And I'm saying that loosely because I got him in my top 3. So,
yeah.
But he reminds me of Ray Lewis on those standards. He's got that same body frame that he definitely needs to bulk up a little bit. He's a great talent. He's got real good instincts. So there's things like that remind me of him and Ray Lewis together. Now, if you put tape next to each other, I'm not saying none of that shit. So for anybody that's going to run their mouth from straight out from the gate, say it to my face. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's that. That's just all I'm saying. It reminds me of a younger Ray Lewis when we drafted him, and he had that trim, slim build and that speed and power, explosiveness. And
we got another linebacker too that's supposed to be playing alongside him. It's like a two-headed monster almost at the linebacker core. You got it? You remember his name by chance? Harrison? No, not Harrison. That was like a.
Man, I can't even remember. I was struggling to remember the wide receiver I was just looking at tape on. I mean, this lack of sunlight's killing me, man.
Right.
Let me look it up for you real quick. I know we got a defensive end.
I mean, yeah, we took care of everything in terms of we got a defensive end. We got somebody. We got now a good running back core with 4 guys, and then potentially, well, that's if they make the 53-man roster. And then on top of that, we have the son of a wrestler who is playing what position?
Oh, fullback, Rick Steiner's son.
Yeah. So we have him, and you said he also had the power of like Vontae Leach.
Yeah, we got. Oh yeah, he's a pretty powerful guy. Apparently, I don't even know nothing about this guy, right? My cousin told me about him, and then that's when I looked up tape on him, and from what I see, he's from a smaller school, so that's why he probably didn't get scouted. But from what I can see, I think he can really help us out because he does have the kind of power like Vontae Leach had, where he can hold back those 280-pound defensive linemen. You know what I mean? Those 300-plus pound guys, because he's got that same stature.
Right.
But the running back we got is J.K. Dobbins for the people that were wondering what he meant by the running back. And then we got a defensive tackle, Justin Madabuki from Texas A&M. So he was also a great pickup because he was expected to go early. I don't know what happened there.
And then the linebacker is supposed to be in the same one of the middle linebackers, not Patrick Queen, but the other one.
So what we did is we moved up to get him early. Looks like it's early in the 3rd round. We got him pretty early in the 3rd round, it looks like, because we got 2 number 3 picks. And that's when we got Devin Duvernay, wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then we got an offensive lineman, Malik Harrison. Okay. He's also really good. We got 3 number 3 picks. That's why our draft's looking good. We got 3 number 3s. I thought we got him in number 4.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a good draft for the Ravens. Then you had.
Oh, my bad. We got 4 third round draft picks.
That's
4
crazy.
3rd round draft picks. DeCosta did his thing, boy. We got Malik Harrison, offensive linebacker, Ohio State. I want you to notice a trend here. All these names I'm about to say, right?
Uh-huh.
LSU, playoffs. Ohio State, playoffs. Texas A&M, playoffs. Texas, playoffs. Ohio State, playoffs. Like we didn't draft from no bust ass teams. We drafted from these teams that made it to the top tier.
Right. Absolutely. As
we got
should be.
Offensive tackle from Mississippi State, Tyre Phillips. That was a good pickup because, we're losing a couple guys.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then, to also shout out to some other picks that were pretty good. The Cowboys grabbed wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, and then Chaz Young and Thaddeus Moss signed with the Redskins. And then another situation. This situation really, really, really intrigued me. The Packers decided to draft a quarterback in Jordan Love. But Aaron Rodgers is still the locker room leader on that team, and he is the heart and soul of that organization. The face of it, pretty much. So, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, do I feel betrayed? Because I'm looking at the situation like this. This guy just this past season took you to the NFC Championship. All you had to do was go into the draft, get a couple of weapons that he can use so it can take you possibly over the hump. Like, this guy's working with nothing and getting you to the playoffs. But you decide to go draft a QB. Why pull the trigger on the future so early is bugging me. Because if it was me making those decisions, I would be like, okay, let's put the pieces around Aaron Rodgers so we can get to the bowl next year.
What do a lot of teams do wrong, man? They get rid of the greats way too soon. Did you know? I seen a crazy ass stat the other day. It said that Aaron Rodgers has thrown, and I want you to take a guess, how many touchdowns to a first round draft pick throughout his career?
Oh my God. I'm scared to find out the number. I can't give. I don't think I can give an accurate number.
1. He's thrown 1 touchdown to a first-round draft pick his whole career. Tell me that's not the craziest fucking stat you've ever heard in your life. And he just did that last year. You know what that tells me? That they haven't been giving him weapons for years.
Yep.
So you don't give a fuck. Where you're not hurt about them not getting you another wide receiver or another weapon. You're hurt because now they're trying to get your successor. They're trying to find someone who don't need a number 1, draft pick. And let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers didn't look like Aaron Rodgers last year. Now, I'll admit that he played smart. He got to where he needed to be. But when it came down to it, he couldn't make no big plays. He has nobody that he can really rely on. If his receiver gets hurt, he has nobody open. They finally got their running game going, which, that's not bad. But if you're asking me, should he be hurt? Was Brett Favre hurt?
Well, that's different. That's a little different because Brett Favre was talking about retirement way before they made a draft to Aaron. Like, that's a different situation. I can't even compare it to. Brett Favre was talking about retirement. Brett Favre was talking about hanging it up. So it made sense for them to go get Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has not talked about any kind of retirement. We have not heard any conversations about him slowing down publicly. He still wants to play. He still wants to go. So when you have that going on and you don't go into the draft and get one offensive player for years, and the first one you get is his replacement for the future this early, you pull the trigger that fast. If I was him, I would consider going somewhere else because you're not going to win another ring there.
Hey, I'm with it. Go somewhere else. I'm all for that.
Trust me when I tell you.
Go somewhere where you're going to have weapons around you, protection around you, and you know what? Shove it into the organization that's done you dirty.
Look, this may be, I may catch a lot of heat for saying this. If the Browns got rid of Baker Mayfield, let's just say they got rid of Baker Mayfield. Let's just say they got rid of him.
Oh, my God.
If they got rid of him and brought Aaron Rodgers in, I'd be scared to death.
Let me put it to you this way. There ain't nothing the Browns can do to uplift that fucking curse they got on them. They can bring Aaron Rodgers in, right? They can have Peyton Manning in his prime back him up, and they ain't going to the fucking playoffs. I don't know what the fuck else is wrong with that team other than they're cursed. You can't have. I think at one point they had 3 number 1 receivers on their fucking team, bruh.
Dude, well,
Like you
get
still
this.
ain't throwing fucking dimes, man. Like what the fuck?
They got Janoku, they got Odell, they got Landry, they got Kareem Hunt coming back. You got 4 guys that can, if you give them the right scheme, that's a lethal D. That's easily a top 10 offense.
Yeah, they got a high prospect coming out of college. I mean, they can shit on him all they want now, but there was a reason he was a high prospect.
Right.
You know?
So I'm sitting here looking at the situation. I'm going, how come y'all are not getting it together? Like y'all should be at least the number 2 team in the AFC North. Yeah, notice I said number 2.
At least.
Right.
I mean, there was people talking about them going to the Super Bowl last year, right, because of the team they had come up with.
It's a lot of talent.
Look, I knew from the get-go, it don't matter who the fuck is on that team. If you don't have the right person driving that motherfucker, and yeah, we talking about Freddie Kitchens' big fat ass. He wasn't the answer. If Bill Belichick decides to go back now, we got something to talk about. But he wasn't the answer. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah,
so we'll
absolutely.
see.
We'll definitely see what Aaron Rodgers does. We'll definitely see where the Browns go. But the one thing that we know for certain is that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski will be reuniting in Tampa Bay. Now,
let's talk about it.
So let's look at this offense. We got O.J. Howard. We got Mike Evans. I'm just going to mention Rob Gronkowski. And now we got Tom Brady.
Godwin. Don't forget about Godwin.
We got Godwin, too. So we're looking at how this team is set up offensively. How lethal can this offense be?
Again, I'm gonna drop it back for you. You can get the shiniest and prettiest fucking car there is, but if you ain't got the engine in that motherfucker that makes that bitch go vroom vroom, it ain't gonna do shit. Cause I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna tell you, cause Jameis Winston gets a lot of shit. They got his 30 for 30 commercial fucking meme and all that shit. It's funny. We get it. But homeboy got some fucking talent. He's a gunslinger. He got power. He's got accuracy.
Yeah, he'd be a gunslinger for the other team.
He makes good reads. I mean, that's part of the jokes. You know, he's the only quarterback that can get you in the game and take you out of it at the same time. You know, it's funny. But if you put him, like, for instance, I think the Saints just signed him. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's starting, obviously. But if Drew Brees is to retire this year and he sits behind Drew Brees, I can guarantee Jameis Winston may or may not come out next year, and he may not look like he did in Tampa Bay. Because Tampa Bay, they can say what they want about that fucking dude that came from New England. That dude ain't shit. He called them stupid fucking plays. He had that dude running for his life the whole fucking time. What did they do to get Tom Brady protection? Because they couldn't protect a faster guy that got out the pocket. You still need time to throw to these motherfuckers.
Right.
It don't make a difference. Where's your run game? Where's your run game? Who's protecting them? What, are you going to throw 50 times a game? That's not Tom Brady's style. So, here's the thing. Do I think that Tampa Bay is going to, go up and incline? They're going to incline? I do. Do I think they're making the Super Bowl because they got Tom Brady? I don't. They might not make the playoffs. So you bring a retired tight end in there and everybody's fucking ranting and raving? What's he going to do?
Can he stay healthy is what I'm asking. Can he stay healthy?
Did you just see him on WrestleMania? He looks stiff as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, you've been retired for 2 years and you didn't look very good in your last season. That's why you fucking retired. You're injury prone like shit. I get it. I get the allure. Don't get me wrong. I get the allure. But if I was Tom Brady, Tampa Bay might not have been the place for me to go. LA Chargers, that might have been the place for me to go. Indianapolis Colts, that might have been the place for me to go. because they already have what you need. I'm not saying that Tampa Bay ain't got a loaded fucking gun, because they do.
Right.
But what happens when your fucking chamber backfires on you? Them bullets ain't shooting straight. So unless you can get your line fixed, unless you can get some kind of established run game, unless you can build a real scheme behind him, which, let's be honest, with all this COVID shit going on, how much scheming are they doing?
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? What exactly are they doing to get themselves in position to be this big thing coming up? They're not. So, we're going.
Yeah, I definitely get it.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. You know. I will say this though. As a Drew Brees fan, I'm excited. I'm excited. I can't wait to see the clash, man. I cannot wait to see the clash.
That clash is going to be different. So, let me ask you this, man. We know we're kind of concerned about Gronk, and we don't know if he's going to stay healthy. We know how injury prone he can be. Now,
let me ask you a question before we get into it.
Okay.
Because I'm honestly tired of hearing about this. Do you put Gronk as your greatest tight end ever?
He would be up there, but he wouldn't be number one.
Okay, I want you to tell me why you would put him. Like, what do you mean by up there? Like top 5?
I couldn't. Even though he has the rings, I couldn't put him over Tony Gonzalez.
I couldn't either. I couldn't put him over Antonio Gates.
Right.
I couldn't put him over Todd Heap. Like why? Like what? Like where? Like I don't understand why he's ranked so high when everybody's, because he got rings with Tom Brady.
Well, that, and because he's kind of like the Shaq of the tight end position. Like it was when he was at his prime, it's hard to take him down. You got a guy who's 6'7", and he's hard to take down.
What was his prime? How many years did he play?
You talking about prime years? You talking about prime years?
I'm gonna look up and see how many years he played. And this ain't me taking nothing away from him. Gronk is a great talent.
Right.
I think he's a great tight end. But I'm tired of hearing about how he's top 3 and top 5 and all that shit. How the fuck are you top 3 and top 5 when? Just hold on. Go ahead and say what you said. I'm gonna look that shit up.
I mean, the way I look at it is this. I think people give him that nod because of the hardware, because of the rings, because people remember him as being, this fun, lovable guy, but he was hard to tackle. You know, he can gouge out a defense like nothing because he's just hard to tackle. And he's so dominant. I think that's why a lot of, I look at him as like the Shaq of tight ends. Because Shaq was just dominant in basketball. Shaq was just dominant at his position because he was just a big body dude that you just couldn't move out. You just had to move out the way sometimes. And I think a lot of people feel that way about Gronk at the tight end position. At his prime. Not injury prone. I'm missing half a season Gronk. I'm not talking about that spiel. But that's just me. And I mean, there were times, in his prime when we played him, like how they were saying, watch out for Ed Reed, watch out for Ray Lewis. We were sitting on the reverse side of that. We were saying, watch out for Gronk. Because he'll gouge you to death and barely. There's some of our D-backs struggled to take him down. We sat back and had the conversations. Man, we got to watch out for Gronk. You remember him.
I'm not gonna deny you, his skill, because he's definitely had skill.
Yeah.
But, when you compare 8-year career, all right, you had a little bit more success, but you're not the reason that, that success was there. They won Super Bowls without you. And then when you left, they won a Super Bowl without you. So that's my thing. Like, when it comes down to it, you played for 8 years, right? I think you can sneak him into the top 10, because similarly, him and Shannon Sharp had a similar career.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Shannon Sharp had 10,000 yards, 69 touchdowns, 3 Super Bowl rings, 1 with us. And if you put Shannon Sharp in the conversation, you got a great comparison right there. So if you can compare Shannon Sharp and Rob Gronkowski to an 8 to 10 year career, you have to put Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates up in there, and Jeremy Shockey and who's the guy on I can't think of his name right this second. Dallas tight end, the guy after Jeremy Shockey.
Jason Witten.
You got to put Jason Witten on there. Okay, yeah, they don't have the rings, but damn, they did it at a high level for so long.
Right. Longevity definitely plays a key factor. Like, you can't just have the hardware when you talk about the tight end position, because if we have seen players not be that great, but they got a lot of hardware. Because they just were in the right place.
I think he's a great player, but I like when people start throwing him up in there in the top 3 and shit. Like,
well, you know why they do that, right?
I'll give you top 10.
Right.
I'll give you top 10,
But that people see that hardware and it's like, oh, you had that many rings, we're just gonna lift you up. Like, they completely forget about longevity. They completely forget about the type of schemes that the tight ends were running. They completely forget about, who was the guy that revolutionized the position. You know what I mean? They forget about stuff like that, so they don't take that into account. Now, with that being said, now with Gronk and Brady on the Buccaneers, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what does it say about his relationship with the Patriots? What does that say? Is it? I mean, because in my personal opinion,
what was going on for him to even want to leave? If it was that easy to get Gronk back, you already had you a weapon. Think about this for a second. You already had you a weapon. And if you really wanted to, you could have negotiated it. Hey, I want Gronk back. Stop trying to trade him. Because remember, that's why Gronk retired. Because they tried to trade him to, I can't remember what team. Honestly, cannot. I don't know who the fuck it was, but they tried to trade him to a bust-ass team. And he was like, haha, joke's on you. You can't trade me. I'm retired.
Right.
So if it was that easy to get Gronk back and you really needed somebody, Tom Brady could have made it happen. I don't think that it was Tom Brady. I think it was all Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's an old bittered bitch. And, you're willing to let go of your greatest dynasty of all time, dude. You won 6 Super Bowls with this man. So what? He's declining. Let him decline his ass on out of there. Let him retire where the fuck he was at. He's the GOAT. And you made it to the playoffs with him on probably his worst year. Like, let him go.
So here's the thing. People have to understand this, right? Belichick tries to get you out of there early before the wheels fall off. That's just how he is. I mean, I think it's right? Who do I tell somebody? But, I mean, that's just how he is.
I get it. And Robert Kraft didn't like it. And then he kept Tom Brady, and then they won another Super Bowl together. At what point do you go, you know what? I'm old, I'm stubborn, and I just need to let it fucking go. Sean Payton has stuck by Drew Brees through rough times, great times, and even rougher times. Because let's be honest, that dude has the stats to say he should have at least 4 rings.
Right, he definitely should.
He's one of the best ever to do it. And it kills me that he don't got 2 rings. He only has 1. And Sean Payton has stuck behind that. He has restructured his team multiple times to get behind Drew Brees. And for the past 4 years, they've been the team to, how do you say it, projectively be put, is it like the projected list?
Yeah,
he's projected to make it to the championship every year because of the team they have built. And then every year their defense fails. Or they play against Minnesota. Minnesota just got that number.
Right,
but
they just do.
And that's the crazy thing to me. Sean Payton is going to live or die behind Drew Brees. Drew Brees has had opportunities to go to other teams to where he could have shined, he could have did less work, and he could have won a Super Bowl. He would probably be a 2 to 3 time Super Bowl champion right now if he would have went to a restructured team 5 years ago with a loaded offense. Let that sink in. Imagine if Drew Brees right? And I know I said all that shit about the curse and shit earlier, but imagine if Drew Brees went to Cleveland.
That's a nightmare for us.
That's a nightmare for anybody because of the skill and the talent around him and the fact that they do have that defense, that young defense they're not paying yet, that young offense that's still on that surface.
Trying to figure itself out.
Yeah, imagine if you had a guy like Drew Brees there, or like you said, Aaron Rodgers. That's somewhere that you can go, you can shine, and you can build, and you can fly. You know, that'd be saying something crazy about us. But I'm gonna leave it there, man.
Yeah,
Tom Brady,
man.
Tom Brady and Belichick. You know, I think they still have a manageable relationship. I just think that I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people would have thought it would have been over the years, winning 6 Super Bowls. Because if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm letting it go. I'm dying with Tom Brady. I'm not. Or even worse, I got a better idea for you, you old bitter bitch. Why don't you draft the successor and let him sit behind the GOAT? Let him learn from the GOAT when the GOAT is ready to go. You know what I mean? Don't do it when you're terms, motherfucker. Get with Tom Brady. Tom Brady, this is my plan. What do you think this year? Well, I'm going to go until I'm 45. Okay, well, in 2 years, I'm going to draft a quarterback, and I want you to teach him everything you know. Tom Brady says, ding, ding. We got this.
All right, cool. I mean, I think that when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be a lot to look at. I think it's one of those situations where, especially a game where it's Bucks versus Patriots, I think that's going to be interesting to look at because people have always been wondering who was really the mastermind behind those 6 Super Bowl rings. Was it Brady or was it Belichick? Who knows?
Here's the thing. You got a guy on Tampa Bay who's learned everything from Bill Belichick, and then you got the quarterback that came from Bill Belichick. Who the fuck does Bill Belichick have? They were already a struggling offense with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Right. What are they going to do now? They have nobody. And from what I'm hearing, is they haven't even made... Huh?
Except Julian Edelman. That's it.
Well, I mean, who's going to throw it to him?
Right. And what were you saying? I'm sorry I interrupted your point.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm saying, like, from what I'm hearing is they haven't made no steps to find a quarterback. They have nobody. There's all these guys out here. Like they had Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, a guy is somebody he could have molded. Somebody he could have used. Could have used that athletic ability. Cam Newton, another guy. He's just sitting out there. He's just sitting out there waiting. They had Phillip Rivers. He was out there for a while. There were so many guys that was just kind of out there that you didn't hear no rumors about. You didn't hear nothing. They made no steps to try to fix it at all. So.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. It should be, I mean, they got to make a decision at some point. If they bring Cam Newton in, that wouldn't surprise me. At least bring somebody in that's familiar with the league. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. We'll definitely see. We're going to move on to our friendly fire segment. And I'm going to start off with Babyface versus Teddy Riley. Who do you think won and why? So, Jeff, lately on Instagram Live, they've been having these battles back and forth where they'll just play 20 hits back and forth. And one of the most notable ones was Babyface versus Teddy Riley. I'll give my thoughts on this really quickly. People will say that Teddy Riley won, but let's be honest. Babyface has made most of his hits that are slow jams. If Teddy Riley and Babyface got into it about on the slow jam tip where it's strictly just 20 hits of slow jams, Babyface is winning that because that is Babyface's bread and butter. Now, with that being said, because it wasn't just about slow jams, Teddy Riley can play the high-paced songs from Guy, Michael Jackson, Remember the Time, and this and that. And he can go into some Blackstreet and stuff of that nature. He's had his hand in a lot of stuff. People don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, but Teddy Riley actually did the beat for the show with with Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. That was him making that beat. So because he was able to do a lot of more fast-paced New Jack Swing and add that in there, to a lot of people, he probably got the upper hand. But if it was just a competition about 20 hits of slow jams, Babyface is getting him up out of here. If Boyz II Men, End of the Road, need I say more? Babyface had a hand in that. He got to sit down. So that's just my 2 cents. So
was it producer versus producer, or was it?
It was literally
catalog, because like you said, it's too. Any producer can go, yeah, I produced these great superstars. Let me throw them out there. When you got a Babyface who makes his own music, and then has his production, then yeah, like maybe, but to me that's already unfair.
Right. It was catalog, but plus you could add in your own songs so it's 20 hits. So it's 20 hits back and forth. So Babyface has some of his own songs. Teddy Riley, because he's not really a singer like that, he put and Teddy Riley has put out a lot of the beats from the 80s and 90s on hip hop and R&B. A lot of those came from Teddy Riley. Some of the stuff that you and me like a lot is 9 times out of 10 probably be a Teddy Riley beat. So right. You have these two iconic people that have such a storied career going at each other like this. I think the only reason why people were giving Teddy probably the upper hand slightly, and don't get it twisted, it was a close battle. I had a hard time trying to figure out who was going to win this. I think the only reason why people are giving Teddy the upper hand is because of the high-paced, fast-paced songs that he was playing. Outside of that, I think if it was 20 hits of slow jams, Babyface is getting them up out of here. I
mean, I didn't hear it, so I can't judge it with you, but No,
I was in there. I was in the IG Live. It was definitely something. There was speaking of that, there was a Prince tribute on CBS. Phenomenal tribute. I'm not going to go too much into it. That's all I'm going to give you. They got the tribute right this time, even though Prince himself did not want a tribute for himself after he, that's one thing he said in interviews. Look, he's like, I don't want nobody doing a tribute for me. And they completely ignored that and did one anyway. I would encourage everybody to look at the tribute on CBS. If you have the app or if you have it in syndication, definitely look at that, because I heard that was really well done. Speaking of stuff that was really well done, a performance by Travis Scott, Astronomical, was now featured on the game Fortnite. And it garnered a record-breaking 12.3 million viewers, or should I say players, watching the concert. I saw the replay on YouTube. Right up, the whole atmosphere is right up Travis Scott's alley. Everything. That's all I got to say about it. Everything, the spacey, the spacey carnival-like world that Travis Scott has created for himself, in terms of his whoever's doing the artwork and the style and putting that together, the art direction for him as an artist, whether it's him or a combination of somebody else, my hat's off to you. It is very, 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 very well done. Speaking of something that is well done, I'll tell you what French Montana is good at. Clout chasing when it comes to doing things well done. He ain't good at nothing else. He ain't good at being a lyricist. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. See where this is going.
He claimed that he can go, and you're going to laugh when I tell you this, he claimed he could go hit for hit with Kendrick Lamar.
Hit for hit? I don't even think on the top of my head, I can't even think of a hit that he has.
That's what I'm saying. He ain't got that many hits.
That doesn't have a feature.
Right. He ain't got that many hits. I think French is bored. I think French is just trying to start stuff, and then the beef with Young Thug, which I'm not going to waste my time getting into because that's just a bunch of BS. I think he's just bored. I think he's just trying to start stuff, and I think he's just bored on quarantine. That's exactly what I think it is. And also the last topic on the Friendly Fire is that the NBA may be opening up a couple of practices around May. starting May 1st. Some teams are going to be reopening practices so that way they can some of the teams can get that in for May 1st. Do you think it's too soon, Jeff? I'm going to let you chime in on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely too soon. I mean, you got. I get what you're trying to do, but no, we still don't even have an answer on what this virus is. All we know is it's still attacking our respiratory system. Unless there's something being announced saying, hey, we got vaccines on the way and we figured out what it is, then you start opening shit up. I get it. You're losing viewers and you're losing money and shit like that, and money's going to make the world go round. But when that motherfucker stops, because there's nobody going to be able to watch the shit because they're going to die, then there's no point in even opening the NBA, period. So let this shit die down. Do next season. Or do a late season. Something. Do an accelerated season. You know what I mean? You act like they have to go out there and play 100+ games. They don't. Put them in that 20, 25 to 30. Cut that shit down or something. See who the best team is after 30. Or the best team is after 25. Just do something, but just wait. Because guess what? You're gonna lead by example. You start doing shit like that, you already got Florida out here doing stupid shit. Everybody else gonna start doing stupid shit too, and it's just gonna make the situation worse. The government's gonna take more of our freedom from us, and at the end of the day, what was the point of opening up? For us to be able to sit there and watch you play? Appreciate you. I got a video game. Got hundreds of TV shows on Netflix. I'm an essential worker. I don't have time to watch any of that shit any fucking way.
Right.
And for the people that do a puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Open up your mind, read a book, learn something new while you're at home. Advance your fucking self. You know what I'm saying? Right. We don't need to watch two men fucking going one-on-one on slamming balls in each other's face. As long as this shit is over with by football season, that's all I'm saying. Then I'll change my tune a little bit. But yeah, I would just wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think that. I don't think they're going to risk it, especially when there's players that have already contracted the virus. Kevin Durant being one of them. So. With that being said, this has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you so much for coming on. Definitely always good to have you on. You're always welcome back and chime in accordingly. With that being said, this has been another edition, folks, and we'll be in touch. We'll be back with another episode real soon. Until next time, everybody, take care.
Peace.